What's up everybody, back on the Shadowlands Beta with some more raid testing for you. So today we're taking a look at Mythic Kael'thas, Sun King's Salvation in the new raid Castle Nathria. Before we start, I just want to point out that this is very early beta, so a lot of things will change. So this is by no means a guide on how to, and due to it being beta there's a lot of bugs, a lot of lag and weird stuff going on. But I'll go over what we uncovered during this limited testing. But I can say this fight definitely got spiced up on Mythic. So quick recap of the fight, or skip ahead a minute if you just want to hear the Mythic stuff. This fight, Kael'thas needs to be healed up, so that's how you win the fight. Throughout the fight, swarms of ads spawn, all with different abilities. Some leeches health from Kael'thas, some nuke the raid, etc, etc. One ad type drops fonts that you can heal. If healed up, they in turn heal Kael'thas. There's also pedestals around the room where players can channel their health into Kael'thas. When Kael'thas hits 40 and 90%, his shades spawn, which has a ton of abilities and needs to be defeated. On top of this, Kael'thas cannot be healed during the shade phase. And I go over this so the mythic stuff makes more sense if you haven't seen the heroic stuff before. Now on to the mythic stuff. The big new thing here is the Cloak of Flames that Kael'thas uses, or is used upon Kael'thas. Every now and then fire enshrouds Kael'thas, absorbing around 35k healing. It also causes him to cast Unleashed Pyroclasm that deals roughly 2 million damage to everyone in the raid if finished. Name of the game, heal through the absorb to interrupt the cast. Sounds easy enough, right? Next, his Vile Occultist also casts something called Vulgar Brand, an interruptible curse that brands all enemies, so the raid, dealing a bit of shadow damage but increases damage taken by 35% for 15 seconds. This is the curseable but should really not go off at all. On top of this, the shade that spawns when Kael'thas hits 40 and 90% spawns phoenixes that normally go away once the shade is dealt with. On Mythic, they stick around, adding another layer of annoyance to an already extremely hectic fight. So back up to the Mythic mechanic, which is the Cloak of Flames healing absorb. Why this is such a pain to deal with? Not only is the cast very short, so you have to heal through the absorb very fast, but if he casts this when the shade is up, you're dead, since all healing done to Kael'thas is absorbed by the shade instead. And this seemed to be the case during the absorb as well. So you have to time when the shade spawns, or when you want it to spawn, so you don't get shade and absorb at the same time. And he seemed to use this absorb roughly every minute or so, but the timers were inconsistent, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm also not sure if Kael'thas is intended to be healable by any other mean than through the essence fonts and soul pedestals. During testing, some heals worked directly on Kael'thas and some didn't, which is why I'm uncertain. Because if you're not supposed to be able to heal him at all outside of the boss mechanics, the pedestals and fonts, then that adds another layer of annoyance to the mechanic, since you'll have to either time pedestal channeling during the absorb or keep one or two fonts up so you can heal him with those. And keeping fonts up doesn't really seem viable either, since the longer they're up, the faster they drain, so the more you have to heal him, which seems like a way to keep you from saving these fonts. So you're then left with channeling the pedestals, which not only needs a rotation due to the debuff you get, but it also breaks on damage taken. Like if one of the ads charges you during the channel, it's interrupted, so you either need to make sure these channelers don't get interrupted or have a lot of backups for them. So I'm really not sure how this is intended to play out, but I kinda hope it's not intended for healers to heal Kael'thas at all, and that we just deal with it mechanically, because that's a lot more fun than just healers swapping, spamming for 5 seconds, then back to the fight, because that doesn't sound fun at all. Either way, interesting mechanic to say the least. The spawn pattern for the ads seemed different on a Mythic as well. What sets of ads spawns and when. Might just have been that there were more ads, but since I haven't seen all the ad spawns on Heroic nor on the Mythic, I can't say how much it really differs. I can tell you this much though, there were more ads. But the big step up will definitely be when to push into the shade phase and when to just keep tunneling ads to not fall behind. It really looks like it will be a very hectic fight, a lot of things happening in quick succession and all of them requiring you to deal with them in different ways. You have ads like the assassins that will heal themselves up to 100% health after a bit, ads like the infusers that damage Kael'thas that needs to be controlled so they don't reach the pedestals, pestering fiends that spawn in swarms that deal deal a ton of cleave damage and explode on death. And when you get all three of those at the same time, it does get a bit tricky, especially if you have a shade on top of this. Since you need to slow and control the infusers, gather up small adds to AoE them so you don't blow up the raid, and at the same time make sure assassins die before they heal up again. All while channeling into fonts, kiting phoenixes following shade phase, and tons of other stuff. And it was really easy to fall behind on adds fast. However, if the fight follows the pattern it does on pull, there should be a little downtime every now and then, or some easier add spawns, which is where I assume you'd want to deal with the shade. For example, on pull, if you deal with the mobs that are active when you engage the boss fast, you'll get a bit of time where nothing happens before the swarm of adds starts flooding the boss room again. So if you manage to spawn the shade a bit before that downtime, you should have a lot of time to deal with him before the next swarm of adds and before the first healing absorb. So I'm very much looking forward to this fight, figuring out the different spawn patterns, when to spawn the shade, how to deal with everything, if you're supposed to keep some adds alive while focusing others, or if you're supposed to slow grip, knock back, and dot the infusers and all that jazz. Lots of ideas, not enough time to test. Which is why I'm excited. I want to do this fight more. I want to see more, I want to test more, and for me that's a good indication that I enjoy the fight, because I really don't feel done with it after an hour-ish of testing. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Guides will be released once Shadowlands is live and we've figured out the encounters, of course. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Check out my Patreon, join the Stankie Discord for all your raiding needs, and my Twitch, Stankie Gaming, for more raids and raid testing. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.